King Qasim,
Yo, yo, yo!
welcome to my house.
How cool is this?
It's pretty awesome, hey? To
Amazing.
be able to do this at home. Apologies for the cats running around and the bird screeching in the background, but I hope we can make it work.
I dig it. I love that. I love the cats. I love
Okay.
the bird.
Okay, I believe you checked it out on Instagram. The bird and the cat having a little bit of a set to.
Yes, I did. It was so cool.
Yeah. All right, so let's chat. This is the beginning of what I'm hoping are going to be very, very many podcasts that we're going to do. And I'm super excited about this. I really, really am. And I'm hoping that, like, along the journey, you're going to be partnering with me as well.
I think so, eh?
Just to put it out there from the start, absolutely.
I'm digging it.
Okay, cool. So let's go. Well, let's start off with where your journey began.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the story, but not everybody else does. Why don't you tell us sort of how it all began? Where did King Qasim begin?
Start, man. So before there was a King Qasim, there was Shaul baby boy Pulwin. Yeah. So I was born Shaul Pulwin. I'm the youngest of 5 kids, and my mom and dad. I grew up in Retreat. My dad's from Simonstown. My mom's from Heathfield, Deep River area, and but yeah, I was born in 12th Avenue. And so that was where I spent most of the beginning of my life. But my mom and dad are both musical. My mom's a singer. My dad was a singer / drummer. And so I think music really is just in me. My older brother, was a DJ and, into that old vibe. My sisters, the whole family sings. We all used to get together and sing in the house since I was, 1. I remember these things happening. I have vivid memories from about the age of 3-4 years old, where most people don't remember those things. I remember that. I've got a photographic memory, so certain things it's just cool. Like click, 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 and then I'm like, okay, I remember this. And I can tell people things, and they're like, whoa, wait, I don't remember that. I'm like, wait, you were wearing this, this, and this, and they go, whoa.
No, seriously, the photographic memory, that's a thing.
It's a thing, and I'm very fortunate, especially being a musician. So I can look at what we're doing. I can look at what the song is. I can read the lyrics and then just go click. Okay, let's go. I think now, as I'm getting older, I'm starting to feel it. Like, whoa, there's memories.
There's a bit of clutter up there.
It's a bit backed up. It needs to be defragged.
Oh, man. I mean, I've actually never met anybody with a photographic memory before. I mean, I know it exists,
yes,
but that's pretty cool. So does that work with sort of being able to pick up what something sounds like and play it immediately?
Yes and no. Look, it takes me a couple of times with doing that, but for most cases, yes. That's the reason why I got into so much trouble at school, especially in music, because my teacher would put a piece in front of me, but I would have heard it already. So now I'm not reading; I'm just playing. And then they'd whack. I mean, I grew up in a time when corporal punishment was still allowed.
Oh yes.
So I used to get whacked over the hands. I mean, I had one teacher throw a piano lid on my hands while I was playing.
Well,
so
you can break your fingers.
Exactly.
And did it?
No, it didn't.
Okay.
But I think my dad broke his face.
Wow.
Stuff like that. So it does come in handy. You know what the funny thing is? I wish so many times, like for the life of me, when it came to exams for school, computer said no.
What?
It just
I was actually thinking, because I mean we'll talk about it later, but you were also I'm wondering whether to bring this up now or talk about it later, you see, because this is the problem when you know so much. But later on, we'll get on to the tough time you had when you moved overseas.
Yes.
But you were still doing school at the time.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if the photographic memory played a role there.
Kicked in. I think, that whole, I think it's a case of survival. So Cape Townians, and I say Cape Townians because I'm super patriotic, but I'm a Kapi in through and through. And Cape Townians have this thing where, especially from the colored Cape Flats, you know, communities where if I don't make it here, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So we do anything we have to do to get where we need to be. So the hustle is real, and the hustle is strong. So I didn't have a choice. You had no choice but to make this work. The fact that my mom took me to the UK and did all of these things for me to have a better life. There was no way I was gonna let them down. So regardless of what was going on, I mean, my mom never knew I was staying on the street until I came back to South Africa and actually sat down with her and told her this.
Wow.
Because she used to call me and she's like, "Where are you?" And I was like, "I'm walking." And she always says, I'd call you and I'd just hear, "I'm walking here, I'm doing this, I'm doing that." And that's what I was, I was doing. I was always hustling, always looking for, where am I going to sleep tonight? Where am I going to eat? What am I going to do? So yeah, the hustle was real, And so when it comes to school, I really applied myself as much as I could there. And got much better grades than what I was
Knowing
getting.
that's going to lead to something.
And so I got a lot. My grades were mad. Like I went from being a C- student in South Africa to being an A+ student in the UK.
Wow.
So for me, that is like that speaks volumes for what we are capable of doing. If you just tap into it.
Absolutely. Okay, so you went from a musical family. Where did you actually start sort of physically playing music and singing?
Yeah.
Was it school? Was it, later in life?
So I started, a lot of people go, when did you start? So I started singing and playing piano at the age of 5. But really got involved. And the first time I sang in front of an audience, I was 9, and that was 1992.
Okay.
So I always go back to my career starting at 9, which is why this year, or with Furu Sakura, the album, we celebrated 30 years.
Yes.
Because it's been 30 years since I stepped on a stage and started doing what I do. So let's say 9 years old.
Okay.
And my very first, actual I used to sing in church with my family and everyone. I was part of the church choir. But then at school, at primary school, I joined the choir there, and we did loads of choir things. And through that, I did my first production at the Nikomalan, Nikomalan at that time, KPAB, a production called Orphans of Kumbu. So that's really where it started.
Okay, and then fast forward like 1997. I mean,
97.
that's kind of, it's 25 years ago. just let that sink in for a second. But that's kind of where you first started your travels.
Yes. So 97, my dad passed. And so, man, 97, such a crazy roller coaster of a year for me. My dad passed. There was no warning. I saw him today and he was gone, the next day. My sister was preparing to leave for the UK to do that 2-year working holiday, blah, blah, blah.
Nice.
And so she was flying out, and we had set everything up for her to leave on that day. And then with the news of my dad passing, we had his funeral in the morning, into the afternoon, and straight from his funeral we left, went home, got my sister's stuff, and took it to the airport. So it was a very rough, time. And the June school holidays that came, my sister said, "I want you to come to England." And I was like, "I want to come to England." So, June holidays, went over to London, and went to spend time with her. And actually, the friends that my mom's family friends that I knew, she had come over when my dad passed. also like a couple of months later with her son Thomas. And Tom and I are the same age. Well, I think I'm slightly older than him. And then Tom, I took him to school with me here. Took him to Weinberg. I was like, dude, you can come check out this school. And he was like, what is this? And then when I went there, he was like, dude, you have to come to my school and come check this out. So I went to SJB, I checked it out, and I fell in love with the school and everything. So when I came back to Cape Town, I said to my mom, I want to go to the UK. I want to go to the UK. I want to go to school in the UK. And she was like, no, we can't. No, you can't. No, you can't. And eventually, I think I nagged enough to be able to, you know.
So when did you actually leave to go back?
So you looking at about 99?
Okay.
99, yeah. In the 98, 99.
Okay, cool. So then you're heading to the UK. And your mom went with you.
My mom went with me.
To just help you settle in.
Help me settle in.
And then things kind of went downhill from there.
Yeah.
What happened there?
So it's such a crazy story because I was actually talking to my brother about this yesterday. So we got there. For the longest time, she's been saying, look, come out, come hang, come to school here, you can live here, you can do anything. Telling my mom, look, let him come here, change his life and all of these things. And we're like, okay, great, let's do it. So we fly over, we get there, 2-3 days into it, my mom takes me to school, we settle into the school, we go shopping, we get all the school stuff and you know what I need, and we're going into winter, so I'm prepping.
Yeah.
So we come home that night and she goes, listen, I don't think this is going to work. And I'm like, huh? What do you mean? Like, my mom's like, what? Up till this day, I'll never, and it's exactly what I said to my brother yesterday. I don't know what happened in that time. I'd like to know. Yeah. I mean, she's been to Cape Town since, and I've seen her.
Did you ask?
No, but I want to. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do want to, because my mom, you know, I'm raised old school, man. And my mom's like proper old school. So you were never going to ask her, even if she came here. And I was like, what? How can you? Anyway, yeah. I'd like to know what changed. Yeah. Was it me? Was it something I did? Because if I remember, I think I was a pretty good kid. And yeah, those things, I'll never understand it. But anyway, I ended up not being able to stay with her. So,
okay.
So what we did was we went to the YMCA, we went to churches, we went to, you know, people trying to find a place to stay. YMCA wouldn't help me because I wasn't English. Churches tried, but I had made 2 friends at school. So my Chris and Richard Santiago, they mixed Trinidad and Canadian. I think the mom's English Canadian or whatever. Okay. So, but so I told him the situation, and then they went home. I went home that evening, and we were sat together, and they called and they said, "Where are you?" I was like, "I'm at home with my mom, and come to our house. Like our parents want to speak to you. Our dad wants to speak to you." So we went to the house, and their dad, Michael, and their mom, but Michael, man, like, what a dude, like, what a man. He was this thick Trinidadian accent that I'll never ever forget. I'll never forget it for as long as I live.
I love that accent.
But now imagine, like, they're like, dude, you're gonna stay here. We're going to set you up here. You can stay here. We'll make space for you until we figure out what we can do. And I remember Michael distinctly had a bit of a lisp.
Okay.
A little bit. Excuse me. And he'd wake me up in the morning. "Hey, Charles, boy, it's time to get up, man. It's time for school." And I'll never, that voice in my head is there forever.
Yeah.
But this dude, man, he took me in. He didn't know me.
Yeah.
Knew nothing about me, knew nothing about my life. But he was so willing to help, you know, so willing to help me become, you know, better.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'll always remember him. And Chris and Richard, I mean, we're still friends today. And they have a younger sister, Olivia. And, yeah, that really changed things. But as time went on, we were going into Christmas, and Michael had family coming over from Trinidad to stay with him. And then he said to me, look, we're going to have to figure something out because the family's coming and we don't have the space.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to have to go back to South Africa. He said to me, that or seek asylum. And I was like, I'm not going to seek asylum. I want to go back to South Africa at some point,
Yeah.
you know.
Still your home.
You know what I mean? So I wasn't going to do that. So I said to them, he was on me, and I said to him, don't stress, like I'm figuring something out. I'll make a plan, blah, blah, blah. And eventually I just went, okay, I'm good. I got a space, but it's not very, but can I leave some of my stuff here? So I left my big suitcase with them, and I took like a talk bag in my backpack with some stuff in it.
But
and
you didn't have a place.
I didn't have a place. So
you just didn't want to be an inconvenience to them.
You know what I mean? Because I was already there for so long, and they were amazing. I said, yeah, I'm good, and then I left. And I looked. Man, I hit up churches. I went back to the YMCA. At this point, my mom was gone.
Yeah. Because she thought, well, you're safe. And
exactly. And he was going to try and help me. So she thought, we're good. I just got to keep her in the loop and whatever. And then my family tried to run fundraisers and stuff here. I remember to try and make money and send me some money. But, man, the rand to the pound was nothing. So it didn't...
Wow.
I remember that. And then what happened was I was still looking, and eventually walked through the park. And I used to walk through this park every day. And then I clocked a spot that was close to where the public toilets were. There was a bench and like some trees coming over, and I was like, actually, that's not a bad place to stay. And so that park bench became my bed, and my safe spot for a while, man. It was day in, day out. I lose count until I figured out a plan, which was walking down the street in Woking past Chameleon and hearing this guy sing. And then I was like, man, I can sing better than this dude.
This is in Surrey.
In Surrey, in Woking.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at the park I lived in was Woking Park.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm walking down and I'm like, man, I can sing better than this dude. So I walk into the club and I'm like, is the manager here? And the guy says to me, what's your business? And I went, entertainment. And so this little guy comes out, Chris. It's like, hey, bruv. And I was like, look.
Hello, bruv.
I sing. This is what I do, And he goes, you reckon you can sing better than that? And I was like, yeah. So he said, come tonight and come check it out. So that evening I went. I always, man, for the life of me, always had suits. There was always a suit in my bag. So popped on a suit, went through, got on stage, asked me what song I was, Maria Maria, and I, I sang Maria Maria. I love that song, and so up until today, when I hear that song, it takes me back to that moment. And then I did Maria Maria. Halfway through, guy looks at me, winks. I'm like, okay, cool. I got this in the I got this in the bag.
I'm nailing this.
So I finished, and he said to me, when can you start? And I got a gig there 2-3 times a week. Made pretty good money for a Cape Town boy. From my 250 rand gigs here at Grab a Granny. It's just, So, yeah, that's really where it all started for me, like started taking off. Through that time, I met Craig David, because a friend of mine's dad owned this radio station, Eagle FM or something like that down south. And he had an interview with Craig, and I was fortunate to be there at the time. And he was doing Born to Do It. So,
for those who don't know, I mean, that's where like 7 Days came from, and
Walking
Away, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember how huge that song was. I have so many memories of Walking Away. It's just insane. When people request it, I cannot not play it.
Yeah, that song, and then a song that really, really triggers all of those memories for me, from the time in Woking, from that park, from everything, to the smell of Christmas, in Saudi, in Woking. If I close my eyes when I hear the song, it's Coldplay.
Yellow.
No, it's not Yellow. It's
Colorblind. Shivers.
no,
Off the Parachutes album.
that album.
I will definitely get it because
It's
I know that album very well.
Ah man, I can't get it now. It's gone. But that
It
song,
should be behind you there somewhere.
and see, they spun a web for me.
Yes. No.
They spun a web for me. That song,
Yes.
dude. That song,
It's gonna bother me now.
man. Oh my god, I absolutely love that song.
Yeah.
The memory of that song for me is like what it takes me back to. I had a girlfriend who used to babysit. And every time she babysat, this family would say, "Oh no, Talimi can come over, blah blah blah," and they would leave, and we put the kids to bed, and we chill on the couch watching MTV Base, eating pizza and stuff. And I have this memory of, man, you must understand that at this point, I was still living on the street.
Okay.
So when they said, "Come over," I was like, "Boom,
Yeah.
I'm coming, I'm coming." And they'd get us pizza, we'd hang, chill on the couch. And I remember this moment of waking up, hearing the song, because I fell asleep on the couch, hearing the song and waking up. And just laying there looking at the video. It's like, if I think about it now, dude, I get goosebumps. It's like, that song takes me back there.
Trouble.
And I was in a world of it.
which is quite weird. And you know, it is so weird. I've always said, whenever I hear that song, I've always said, mentally, I pictured a little dog from like a movie, like Look Who's Talking or something like that. Like that would have worked so well for a scene where the dog is like shunned outside and he's looking through a glass window and he's cold. And whenever I hear that song, it reminds me mentally of that image. And
excuse me, and
in a weird way,
there's the image, dude.
You were that little puppy.
There's the image.
Wow,
man, it's crazy, but yeah, that's what that song means to me. And so from there, coming back to South Africa, I was back here 2001 in the study. I studied music at Prompt, where there was Claire Phillips, there was Brendan Adams, there was Lex. Who else is there? Gino, Blackcurrant, Dylan, Sean Johannes. We were a different breed, you know. And B, Super Dan was born at Prompt,
okay.
you know. So that generation made a lot of the times I think we were ahead of our time.
I remember playing Super Dan at UCT Radio.
Yeah. Like the song for me that always, if sunshine was here every day, who'd hesitate to come this way? That time for me was, you know, amazing. I mean, Lex was the vocalist for Super Dan, and then I left, and at that moment, I moved to Bali, and B, Brendan Adams, he moved to Austria. And there was no more Super Dan.
And what year was this?
2000 and...
Trying to work out the time.
2004. 2004.
Okay.
03, 04.
Yeah.
And then... And that was it. I got to Bali, and everything changed. I was no longer a jazz, soulful, I wear my suit and sing to you, serenade you type of guy. Our band was basically a singing version of the Chippendales.
Right. Okay.
So they took me, threw me in gym.
Yeah.
I was gymming twice a day. Whoa. I had dance rehearsals twice a day. They changed my whole everything. And my agent, when he got me at the airport, and he's Greek, Joseph, man, crazy guy. He picks me up at the airport. He looks at me, he goes, shush. And he didn't say my name, and he just looked at me and said, baby boy. I'm going to call you baby boy.
Oh, wow.
And it stuck. It never left. And everyone he introduced me to along the way from the airport to our villa was this baby boy, man, this baby boy. And we got on stage and fire, just like everything changed. I was no longer just that singer. I did R&B, funk, pop, rock, everything. They changed me. They even made me rap. I mean, I love rap, but I never consider myself a rapper. But I can take anything and do it. Right? If I hear it, I can mimic it. So that was my thing. That's what I did. So Shokru was the band, and we toured everywhere from Bali, whole Indonesia. So Bali, Jakarta, Surabaya, Batam, all of these little places, Singapore, Japan, Malaysia, Thailand, China, Korea, it's just the whole, Southeast Asia. And we blew up during that time, but we did mad stuff. We did the whole silk robes, boxer shorts, freak me baby. That whole thing we did.
Was it Velcro pants?
Yes, it was Velcro pants.
Way.
It was Velcro pants, Velcro. Dude, that show was so cool. Like, if I think about it today, I was like,
would you do it again?
I would. Because Obert's gone pretty big. He's back in Colombia now, but Obert, myself, Gustavo, I think is back. I think he's in the UK. Mikey passed away in a plane crash in Thailand like a couple of years ago now. And Mikey was my one of my closest friends. Mikey, he was American from Ohio, and Mikey taught me how to dance because Mikey was a dancer. Michael Falcone was a serious dancer, and he taught me how to dance. And
was he part of Shokru too?
He was. Okay. So, but the band, we kind of mixed with different people. Yeah. But the core members at that time was Obi, myself, and Izzat, who was a Singaporean guy, and then the back line was predominantly Colombian. It was Javier Barbosa on keys, Luis Barbosa, he was his brother. On drums, we had Reds. Reds is originally James Brown's drummer.
Wow.
So Reds is an old black dude from Philly, old school funk, like, proper. So it was great working with him. Bibi was on guitar. He's a killer guitarist from Indonesia.
Yeah.
And that was the band.
Amazing. And did they all take their clothes off?
The front line.
The front
line. So it was myself, Obert, Izzat.
Man, so what you're telling me is the back line during a show just see ass in front of them.
Yep, that's pretty much how it was, man. I'll never forget that first time Obert said, drop everything. And I said, no. He said, dude, if you don't drop everything, you might as well go home.
Wow. And
I was like, is this what I've become?
Is this what I signed up for? But
you know what?
We once in a lifetime experience.
You know what I mean? And we had like a sea, I honestly, a sea of women.
Because they come to watch that kind of stuff.
From the front of the stage, like this, right? They were here all the way to the back, like a sea of women. And the guys hated us. The men hated us. We had security on our floor. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy, but good times.
Absolutely. I would like to say the big breakthrough for you, Macau?
Yes. So from
Is
there,
that where you went? You went from there to Macau.
To Macau.
Oh, yeah.
So we were, and it was just by chance because I actually, what happened? My last couple of months of Shukra, I got sick. I got a viral infection from eating street food in Indo, which I loved. Um, and I got something that attached itself to my stomach lining.
Like a
Started
parasite.
eating my stomach
Ooh.
lining. It was bad. And, they wanted to send me to Singapore because apparently Singapore has like the best health doctors and stuff. And I was like, nah, I want to go home. Send me home. Send me to Cape Town. I'm not going anywhere where people don't speak what I speak. So they sent me home. I came home for a bit. And I was still healing up when my agent called me and said, look, I need a favor. One of the other bands who are in Surabaya at the time are about to lose their contract. So I need to send someone there to save this. And I said to him, okay, cool. I'll come. And he says, when can you come? I said, I'll come tomorrow. So I flew out. It's funny because I flew out, landed in Indo. There was an issue. They super corrupt. So dude was like, pay me money. I'll let you in. Because like, I got all the visas, everything. I was like, no, I'm not paying you money. And he was like, okay, fine. Put you back on a plane. They sent me to Malaysia. And when I got to Malaysia, I was like, I've got no money on me. I've got no phone to call my agent to tell him what's going on. And just by chance. Now, I don't know if you know Lou Chase.
Yes.
So Lou and I also went to prom together. And Lou and I, Lou's like my sister.
Yeah.
So a couple of years prior to
Iridium
that.
Project, Lose Control.
Exactly. Yeah. So Lou was here in Cape Town. My agent said to me, I need a female version of you. And I said to him, I've got one. And I hooked him up with Lou. And we brought Lou over to Bali. And Lou stayed in Bali with another band, same type of vibe. And she was the front person for that band. And at that moment in KL airport, I'm chilling like this against the side of a wall. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I see this afro bopping past me. And I go, Lou? And she goes, yo, what's up? No. She's getting on that flight that I just came in on from Cape Town.
What?
She's flying home. I said, Lou, I need help. Da-da-da-da. And Lou helped me out. And I called my agent. And like 10 minutes later, I hear an announcement for my name. Come to gate 7, you boarding now. And then I ran to that, flew to Bali. My agent was there. And yeah, this was history, dude. I went to Surabaya, fixed things with that band. But this is the thing. They shot a demo with me. But I wasn't part of that band. I was just there for that period of time. And they sent that demo to Macau. When the gig in Macau happened, they were like, but we want him to be part of the band. So I said to Billy at the time, I was like, dude, I'm not doing this. Like, I got to go back to Shukru because we getting up for the next round.
Yeah.
And he's like, please, dude, like, we got the gig, but we need you to be part of the band. So I said, okay, cool, tell you what, I'll do a month, and then I'll do a backdoor boogie, and then I'm out, and you guys continue. Okay, great, thank you, blah, blah, blah. So that's what we did. But, man, on my first night there, I met my ex-wife, who's now my ex-wife, my first wife, and I never left.
Wow.
So, and then, yeah, the story continues.
How long did you stay in Macau then?
Man, you're looking at about 13, 14, about 14 years. Yeah, 14 years. It was a long time. 14 years, I think. I think it's about 14 years.
Okay.
Because Zoe and I we were married for about 8 years, 9 years. So something like that.
Tell me about your experience with Nelly, because that is a story I love, and I would love you to tell that story because I can't tell it like you do.
Man, so later on, as time went on, obviously, in Macau, I was still being an artist, but I had started Baby Boy Entertainment, which then moved into more of running the actual events, booking artists, putting the whole thing together for the casinos, for the clubs, and those type of things. But the cool thing about doing that was how I positioned myself was, yes, I run this company, and yes, I've got a face for it, but this company has an artist. So Baby Boy was fortunate enough to open up for everybody that I brought in.
Nice.
So that was my
In.
You know what I mean? That was my in. So we brought Nally in. The initial agent that had, not the agent that booked him, but the connection that booked him initially, had no idea about technical riders or anything like that. And with my background in sound, I was like, dude, this is what I do. Send me the tech ride, I'll sort it out. So I went through a list. I was like, we got X, Y, Z in Macau, because Macau has certain things, and if not, like, we have to bring them over from Hong Kong. I mean, I got a direct in with Shure that side and some of the bigger companies. And so I was able to then get, let's say, at that time, like a TF3 or a TF5 desk, or, those type of stuff, like simple stuff. And then I was dealing with Nissan Stewart, who is his MD.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know Nissan Stewart, he's a big MD and drama for like everybody. So then Nissan and I spoke, and he was like, dude, you've got this? Like, no stress. We can give you these things. So they come in, and Nissan comes to me, and he's just like, yo, bro, thank you so much, this and that, whatever. And Nally comes to sound check, and he's like, yo, what's up, Charles? You good? Da-da-da-da-da, whatever. So we chat, and it was Nally, it was Paul Wall, it was Johnny Dang, the guy who makes all the grills. I mean, Paul Wall and Johnny Dang have that song, Grills.
Mm-hmm.
Where you get your grills? Like those guys. So I got the in for the St. Louis, the Missouri, Texas vibe. And that was it. From there, Nally was like, yo, come over to St. Louis and let's hang that side. So,
well, all right. Might as
I
well.
was like, no, I'm coming.
Hey.
So Nally was flying the night of the show, or the next morning, he was flying home to St. Louis, and I was flying to Cape Town. And we were sitting at the airport in Hong Kong, and then he was like, yo, please pull through. We having this thing at the end of the month. I'd really like to have you there. And I was like, okay, cool. So I flew to Cape Town, came to hang for a little bit with my mom and my family, because I was, I worked a lot. Life was there, so I was able to come to Cape Town maybe once a year or once every 2 years. I'd come see my family, but it wasn't long. It was usually like 7 days or 10 days. I try and squeeze that in, but sometimes you just couldn't. But flying back from here, going there, in my return, we were doing Chingy. Remember Chingy?
Yes,
So
one call away and that.
Yeah, exactly. So we were doing Chingy over that weekend. Also from St. Louis, So it was Chingy, it was Dre, it was Nitty, and I'm missing one other person, Rich. I think it's Rich. He was there. So then I took care of them. We were hanging everything. They flew back. And Chingy said, you got to come to STL. So now all these guys in St. Louis are going, dude, when are you coming? I'm going, month end, I'm in St. Louis. So end of the month comes, Nally has this big black and white ball. I'm there. Myself and my at that time, my business partner, friend, Faye, we go over. I'll never forget it because we still stayed in New York, and then went off to St. Louis like later because there was a problem with our flights. But it was minus 14 degrees outside.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, this is cold. And I'm like, have you slept in snow? I'm good. I'm going outside to have a smoke.
Yeah.
So we land in St. Louis, and Nandi comes to the hotel. We hang out. We have dinner and everything. And so this event happens. It was Johnny Gill. It was Nally. It was all of the St. Lunatics. It was, the St. Louis baseball team, the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. It was them. It was the whole football team, St. Louis football team. It was Cardinals, everybody. And Nally comes over to me, and I'm like, dude, this dude looks familiar. And it's Jermaine Dupri.
Oh, wow.
And Nally goes, yo, baby boy, this is Jermaine. Jermaine's baby boy. He's from Africa.
From Africa, man.
So Jermaine's like, yo, what's up? Blah, blah, blah. And we started talking. And that, for me, that moment right there is the part that changes my whole life, my whole career, my whole everything. And the circles that, that now intertwine and mix. and then from that, it's just, there's Jermaine, there's Usher. I mean, I toured with Adam Lambert, I sang backing vocals for Adam Lambert. So every little circle, there's like, what is it? 2, 4, 3 degrees of separation. What's it? I forget.
Isn't it 6?
6 degrees? Something. But the reality of it is that, you have this, and I'm going, this is mad. But so the evening closes off, and we leave, and Ali says, yo, you rolling with us, right? Yeah, sure. So he's scared of flying. I'm scared of flying. And he's got a tour bus. I wish I had a tour bus, but okay. So he's got a tour bus. We get on. We sitting on the bus. He sat at the back. Ali, I don't know if you know the St. Lunatics. Ali's the big tall one. And Ali whips out the bag, and starts rolling. And he gives it to Nally, and Nally lights up, takes a puff or two, and passes it to me. And I'm like, I take it, and at that moment, do you understand, Nally, light it up and take a puff, pass it to me now. It's like, Nally just gave me, he just passed me the joint, If you want to go and take a ride with me, smoke a L in the back of the Benzie. I'm like, wow. And it took me straight back to the UK, to Chris and Richard, and that whole time when that's what we listened to.
Yeah.
Country grammar that whole time. And
it's literally on my Spotify playlist right now. I promise it's there. You can go and check it out.
So
I'll say this is one of the few songs where even the radio edit sounds cool.
Yeah, exactly.
The way it's put together.
Yeah. It's it's crazy because now I've been back in Cape Town for so long. This is the longest I've ever been in South Africa in years.
Yeah. Probably since you were a teenager.
Yeah. It's mad. It's weird, but it's like I love being home. I've been able to spend a lot of time with my family, a lot of time with my mom, and yeah, my brother and people. But I do miss it. Now life is so different. I've got 3 kids. I've got an amazing wife. I don't tour like I used to, so my unit is tight. And it's a big change, but I do miss those days. Just the other day I was speaking to Brandon. Brandon called me and he was like, yo, dude, I want to come to Cape Town. And we were talking about doing this just before COVID. Like literally, we were looking at doing it just before COVID, and then COVID hit. And I was like, shit, we got to change.
Yeah.
But guys like Brandon, all these people that I'm now friends with.
Yeah.
And these are people that I grew up, watching, wanting to be like.
Yes.
Keith Martin, another one who became one of my closest friends. Funny story about Keith was I was on stage. I took a break. I came off, and this guy comes up to me, says, "Yo, dude, like, props on how you sing." And I was like, "Wow, thank you. Like, I appreciate that." So we chat for a bit, and I go to the bar, and I'm like, you want a drink? He's like, oh, sure, whatever. So I get him a drink, and the two of us are standing there talking. And we have this whole conversation for like 45 minutes. And I've got to go back on stage. So I'm like, dude, like, nice meeting you, you know? And he says, nice meeting you too. And I said, I'm Shaw, baby boy. And he goes, I'm Keith Martin. And I walk away. And so I turn around and I say,
correctly?
Did you just say Keith Martin? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, I'll never find someone like you, Keith Martin. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, get out. Are you mad?
Yeah.
Dude, I went back on stage and I called him up to sing with me, and we did damage. Like, we did Boyz II Men, End of the Road, and something else. Nice. I'll show you some videos next time. But Keith and I became very good friends. We wrote together. We produced together. We did a lot of stuff. And Keith was living in Indo and back and forth between Indo and Manila because he's got a kid in Manila. And so, but a couple of months ago, I mean, we were back and forth. We were actually working on something right now, like, you know, and I got the call from, I don't know if you remember the band, you remember the group As Yet?
Yes.
I forget his name now, but he reaches out to me and he's like, yo, have you heard from Keith? And I'm like, no. I actually messaged him like a few days ago and tried calling, it's just ringing. Well, what happened was Keith had passed and no one knew. And I got the call to say, he had passed. That killed me. So guys like Keith, man, artists like that from back then. I mean, Keith is he's an OG in production, in vocals, and I did a song with him that I wrote for my daughter. And I called him. I was like, yo, I'm going into a session later today. And I booked the studio in Jakarta, and he was like, I'm coming. So he pulled through. He spoke me through my vocal, my delivery. And to have your hero, you must understand, when I was at Weinberg High singing, I sang, I'll never find someone like you on that stage in Weinberg High. Today, I'm in the studio. This guy's telling me how to sing what I just wrote.
Yes.
You know, it's weird. It's
Surreal.
amazing. It's surreal. It's amazing. It's like, man, you can't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So sometimes when I speak to people, I'm like, yo, this is, and they go, bullshit. This guy talking smack, you know? Like you know, Reds, Henry Brown, H.B. Wild, all of these cats. And I surround myself with a lot of old school, because I'm old school like that. So old school, funky, you know, real Philly guys. HB is also from the 80s. He had like quite a couple of hits. And he is Jimi Hendrix's cousin.
Oh, wow.
So it's just like,
Yes.
you know, and
The circle gets bigger. The circle gets bigger.
that type of vibe.
Very, very cool. So what do you actually tell people when you meet them about what you do?
Man, you know what my running joke is, right? My running joke is I'm in the entertainment industry. Okay, cool. I'm in the adult entertainment industry. And then they step back and they go, what do you mean? And I go, pornography. What? Yeah, I do porn. Oh, so you like, so no, I'm behind the scenes, like I hold the camera and I'm like, yo, dude, can you just get in there? And I try and let it go. My wife always comes in. Rush will always come in and just go, he's joking.
He's joking.
Because I said that shit. I said it to my daughter's teacher at school. It's just like, what? But yeah, man, look, what are you going to say? People always, like, when you're around new people and you meet a lot of people, nobody knows, or not a lot of people know who I am. And the confusion always comes with, am I Charles or am I Qasim? So you meet people and like, hey, how you doing? Qasim or Charles. Or, they don't know me. A lot of times I get, man, you've got a really familiar face. And I say, yeah, I'm just one of those people. But it is quite like, it's grey. It's a grey area.
Is there a catch-22 between sort of talking to people about what you do and or about your history at least and bragging? Is there a catch-22 between those two?
Definitely. Look, it's hard because now you go, and I have that again. I always give reference to my wife because Rush, when I first came back to Cape Town, Rush interviewed me. You know, she used to work for a radio station, so she was like, boom, boom, boom. And later on in life, like just going in our relationship, it's so difficult. And she's always there egging me on, going, you have to tell your story. You have to tell people who you are. You know, you're not bragging. But I'm like, yo, but it feels like you're bragging. It's like, that's someone else recent. And to prove my point, just recently I had a conversation with someone and I dropped this in and they said, are you flexing? And I was like, okay, and that for me was my thing. Is
but that kind of gets to you, and it kind of hurts you, like because you think to yourself, like, but I didn't come to you, and I'm now telling you I want to tell you about myself.
You know what I
asked.
mean? Exactly. So that's where definitely a catch-22, because you want to tell people who you are and what you do. I want to be able to also get recognition for the time I put in for what I've done.
But generally, it's going to be more exciting than what they do.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, cool, man. So yeah, I'll just keep frying the chicken and listen to your story. Yeah. Because I enjoy braai. But so I'm the designated braai master. But it's like,
we got to have you over for a braai then.
No, it's a must.
Deal.
It's a must. But then I listen to conversations, and usually Raj or like my best friend Craig, like he will bring it in. So Craig's also like very like, and Craig used to manage Superdad.
Do you have friends who say, no, but tell them what you do. Tell them what you do.
So Craig's.
Do you know this guy? This guy's famous. Do you know that? I promise. I promise you, I have friends like that, and it embarrasses the heck out of me because I don't like.
This is true.
I'm like, I'm not famous.
I'm
just like a dude who talks on radio. That's all. And I don't know if you get the same.
Yes, I do. Craig's that person. Raj is selective over who she'll speak to and tell. Unless it's like I'm one of those people. I'm super bubbly, super friendly, and I'll speak to you and because I'm always trying to make a connection. So I'll try and push. Hey, what do you do? Where are you from? Where's your mommy from? I'm old school like that, but it's trying to make a connection.
Yeah.
So I'm funny like that. But my friends, my closest friends, I don't have a lot of friends. Like I've got a small circle, but I look at stuff like that where my closest friends will come to my place and hang. Now, if I invite you to my house to hang, I consider you a bra.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because otherwise, there's no invite for you to come to my house.
no reason for you to be there.
Like they say, back then when we were the ballers pub. The ballers pub. No, you can't play.
Yeah.
So yeah, those type of things. But I do like to connect with people and don't want to come across like I'm bragging. But sometimes do need people to understand. Like if you ask me and I tell you, it's like, this is what I do. I'm not trying to brag. I'm not trying to boast or be in your face about it. But if you ask me, I'm gonna tell you. And I've got a hell of a long story. So. Yes. Sit down, grab some coffee.
This could take a while.
Yeah, so that's it.
Okay. Let's go back to, I call it like the first superstar you met, Craig David.
Yeah.
And talk about the advice that he gave you in terms of songwriting.
So I, obviously, at that time, I'd say obviously. Meeting Craig for me was like a fanboy moment because I loved his music.
Yeah.
Okay. And he had just dropped Born to Do It, Walking Away, and what's the other one now? 7 Days.
Yeah.
So 7 Days was first, right? And I was like, so I used to sing this song, and people were like, "Man, you sound like Craig David," and I was like, I can dig it. I'm doing it. Took her for a drink on Tuesday, and I was like, I'm doing this. And then I met Craig at a radio station through a friend of mine's dad, and we were just having a conversation, and he had said to him that I also sing, and he was like, "Yo, like, what do you do? This, that, whatever." So I said, "No, look, I dabble in DJing a little bit. And do you do garage?" And I was like, "No, like." I'm getting to know garage now, which I really like because I took the break beats and stuff and started the production side on that. But Craig was like, "Do you write?" And I said, "No." He says, "You got to write. You got to tell stories. You have to tell people what, because yes, singing covers are great." And it's a conversation that I have with quite a few musicians here. There's musicians in Cape Town that refuse to play covers. But those are the same musicians that struggle with money.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, dude, you got to get the bag. Everyone's so much getting the bag. Sing the covers, dude. I don't care.
There's a ladder that takes you there.
You know what I mean? I don't care. I'll sing covers all day, every day. Show me the money. It's okay. Can I pay my daughter's school fees? Yay. You know what I mean? Can I take care of my family? And so I'll sing the covers.
Yeah.
But some people don't. But that was the switch of like, you got to write. Because I used to write poems and stuff. But I never wrote songs.
Yeah.
And so from that moment on, I started writing songs and hooks and choruses and that type of stuff. I used to just walk around with a book, just writing down stuff. I lost that book a couple of years ago, and I was gutted because it had so much in it.
From so long ago.
You know what I mean? For years.
Feelings and stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I always hear musicians complain about this, but producers come along and then they tell you, like, oh, nice song, but it should be done this way, or it should be done that way. Does that annoy you?
Yes, it does. And look, it did.
It did.
Let me go back. It did. When I first started writing, there was always people who would step in and say, no, I wrote this ballad. I'll never forget. I wrote this ballad called One Tree in My Life. I loved it. It had, strings and beautiful rainbows and butterflies, and had the whole picture of love. And it had that hazy look, when you heard the song, you saw it. And it was like, and then the producer came in and he was like, look, we can do the song live. We're not doing a ballad. The song's not a ballad. The song's going to be Skopskit and Dona.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And then...
So you're thinking, okay, but the lyrics don't...
Exactly.
Don't reflect
that. No. Trust me. You have to trust me. Okay? But I was upset. He said, don't get upset. Don't get upset. You're going to see. And it changed the whole vibe of the song. Look, we went with it. I even dropped it as a single later. I had Grenville Williams on it. Modessa, Goddessa, Moodface 5, all of that. Grenville produced it. Lindy Pillay was also on it. He did a house version of it. Lex from Super Dan did the other mix on it. Yeah, man. But we changed the whole vibe. Saying all this, as years went on, and I became one of those producers who I pride myself in having an ear for how certain things should be structured. I realized that it's okay. You have to be open also to just allow this to flow. Because sometimes out of that, you're going to get something that's even better.
But there's always an opportunity at a later stage for you to, play it acoustically.
Yes, exactly.
And all you're doing is adding another layer to it.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And so people will at some point get to hear it, especially if it catches on. It catches on as a nice funky pop song that people eat up and they see you live and you can go, well, actually, I wrote the song like this.
Yes.
And then they go, whoa, you need to release it like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you release both and you're good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that I definitely see that.
And coming back to Cape Town, you worked with Ibrahim.
Yep.
How was that? Because he's somebody who knows Cape Town.
Yes. So let me I could give you a bit of the back, and then pushing my music in South Africa, especially in Cape Town, over the years that I've been living abroad, was very difficult. So we sent music. I get playlisted on quite a few stations abroad. But we sent the music to South Africa, and it was just always never making the cut. And I was like, man, the people are eating it up here. They buy my albums, they support my music, they come to the concerts. Why is at home? Why is this not? Why am I having so much trouble doing this at home?
Yeah.
And eventually, when I came back, and when I teamed up with Raj, I ran into Ibrahim at the Breathe Sunshine conference. Was it Breathe Sunshine conference? No, it was something else. It was from Emil, through Emil from Black Noise. They were doing something at a school, and he asked me to come and talk. And Ibrahim was also doing a talk. So we spoke. And this is a good 7-8 years ago. And I was like, yo, dude, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I want to chat to you, want to do something with you. But we just never got the chance. And I was still back and forth. Then about 2 years ago, I did, in COVID, I did Africa Listen. I called Ibrahim, but he was like, meh. The year after Africa Listen, I was like, I'm going to do an album, but I'm going to do it from a producer for Cape Town, for South Africa's mindset.
Okay.
and I'm gonna take off my producer's hat and only rock an artist Trilby.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I called Ibrahim and I was like, "Yo, dude, can we chat?" Yeah, yeah, sure, come through. So I went and met him and I said, "Look, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm trying to meet. I want to hit Cape Town with my sound, but I need you to show me, to help me to. But I want you to take this producer role on, and we'll write it and do all of that. But I want to be an artist and you be the producer." So Ibrahim said, "Sure, let's do it." So we booked. So Denver Diamonds, who's my guitarist and my bra, we've been writing together since prom days back then. He's always been with me. I mean, Denver's toured with me. That side, he's been to Hong Kong, Macau, Jakarta. He was always part of my outfits on that side as well. And Denver came back home. So I called Denver and I was like, "Yo, dude, I'm going to do this writing camp and I want you to come." So I booked a spot in Cape Agulhas.
Mm.
Myself, D, and Ibrahim loaded everything in the car, down there, bride, made good food. We set up everything and we chatted.
And felt inspired.
You know what I mean? Just liquor. So before we started doing the actual music, just in the conversation, and I'll never forget it. I was standing in the doorway and Ibrahim said to me, "Are we doing this as Shaw Baby Boy Bullwin? Or are you going to do this under the new name?" And I've been playing with the idea of changing my name for a long time. Look, I reverted to Islam like quite a while ago, but I never changed my name or anything. Now, I got a Muslim name, but it was just not out there.
Yeah.
And then we were chatting, and Ibrahim knows me as Qasim.
Yeah.
So then he goes, what are you thinking?" So I stood back and I said to him, "King Qasim." And he looked at me and he was like, "That's it.
Yeah.
That's who you are. So let's take the approach on this album as King Qasim," which I loved. I thoroughly enjoyed. And Ibrahim brought fire. I mean, we wrote those tracks. We did 5 songs of the album on that trip.
Mm.
And I mean, I worked on a couple of others with other writers and other producers on the album as well. Darren Peterson, Clay, myself. I did like an intro or something on it, little bits, but the bulk of it came off that getaway on that writing camp. And Ibrahim was on the money with everything, because he'd speak to me and he was like, "Yo, what do you think about this and this?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is where I feel it." And he'd make the beat and then we'd listen to it, and then Denver would lay chords with a guitar and I just hum like little riffs and stuff like over it, and we're like, "Okay, that's it, Nika. Okay, let's try that." And then he'd lay 2 or 3 chords, and then I'd write,
Yeah.
and that's how we did it.
Do you ever take any of the old writing that you'd done in the past and try and use that on the new production?
I do. Some of the times I do go back and go, "Okay,
Let's
this works there,
yeah.
that works there." I remember certain things. I'm like, "Oh snap, I wrote the song, but I never did it. Actually,
Yeah.
let's use it now."
Yes.
So yes, definitely that. But also Ibrahim makes it super easy. Denver also, like, I can just call D anytime and just be like, "Yo, dude, I have this idea. What do you think of this?" And they say, "Leave it with me." And like 10, 15 minutes later, he'll shoot me a little voice note, of him talking or playing something on the back and just send it to me. And I'd listen. I was like, oh, Denver, he understands how I think.
Yeah.
And that's important, to work with people who you gel with, whose energy is lekker, and then from there you get to. And Ibrahim is also just like, Mark, who is my partner, my prize, like family in the UK, that I've worked with also for years from Alien Sound Studios in Liverpool. Another person who gets me like that.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I've been trying to get Mark to come out to South Africa to do some stuff, but we just don't get a chance. But yeah, that's the move.
So where did Chocolate Soul fit into all of this?
Okay, so Chocolate Soul, is an outfit that I did. See, when I was born, my mommy used to call me a chocolate boy.
Uh-huh.
So that's where the name actually derived from. It was like chocolate boy, soul funk. And so I took that. So chocolate soul was my first original outfit. So Denver, myself, and Troy, and then later we swapped. Troy went back to the States, and I got Ricky, who's Indonesian. He's from Bandung. So then we started like an acoustic trio, but nice soulful vibes, which is where I live, vocally and just in the fields. That's what I feel. Chocolate Soul was that, and then later we added a drama, and I also had another outfit of Chocolate Soul, which was bigger, which is like a feng shui or shukru or that type of vibe that I also took to the Ritz-Carlton in Jakarta and that type of vibe. But the Chocolate Soul is actually an original band.
Yeah.
I mean, we did an album where we sold, man, I made this album. I did the artwork, everything. I finished it, took it to the production house in Hong Kong, to get the glass master, and take it to them so that they could, duplicate it. And we did 12 or 15,000 CDs that sold.
Amazing.
Like that. We sold it in Soiree. We sold it at all our gigs. They sold, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Especially considering CDs.
You know what I mean? I mean, back then people were still heavy on the CDs. So, but that went well.
Okay, nice. So the name Qasim.
Yes.
People often call you Qasim.
Yes.
What the difference? Should we just address the elephant in the room here?
Yes. Let's sort it out. So in Cape Town, I'm gonna say this again. In Cape Town, people go Qasim. And that's purely based on how things were back then. Cape Colored #1, and then how people with pronunciation back then just went, oh no, I'm not struggling to say that. We'll just call you Qasim. Yeah. And they spell it Cassim. Qasim. Whereas I'm a new Muslim, right? Like I'm a Rivet now for about 8 years, and for me, the name I got in Bahrain, from someone and an Arab. So and an Arab called me Qasim, and I was like, say that again, Qasim, and it's spelled Qasim. Mm-hmm. So that's the difference. It's the Arabic, the way you say it, and the name is Arabic.
Yeah.
So if the name is Arabic, say it like it's supposed to. If we're gonna, if we're gonna be funny about certain things, then call it what it is.
Yes.
If we're gonna speak Arabic and you're gonna say on certain Arabic words, it needs to be said this way. Then say my name right.
Yeah.
It's Qasim. So the easiest way to explain it to people or to get you to remember is you think of a car and Sim. So Qasim, it's simple, it's seamless. Qasim.
It's seamless.
Qasim, yeah. So that's the name.
So would you say that I would, but
Yes.
let's hear it from your opinion. Would you say that the production, the new name, the new production, the new album, everything has been a success? So
Oh no, definitely. Dude, I'm over the moon. Like Ibrahim and I and Denver have an inside joke. It gets me excited. It gets me. So I'm super excited. I'm still buzzing off Furusakuru. So Furusakuru,
yes.
is Japanese. It means full circle, and
Which kind of really works if
Well-
you think
well,
about it.
this
I
is
mean,
the
obviously
thing.
that's why you did it. But
yes. So
it makes total sense.
yeah, so 30 years, celebrating 30 years in the music industry, or 30 years as an artist, and the symbol for 30 is circle,
Okay.
and so that's when, and with
And
it
yet
being
here you are back to your roots in Cape Town.
exactly, and producing at home and
Yeah.
really touching on everything at home, the place where it all started. So
Yeah.
but using my knowledge and what I've learned and what I've gained in Asia. So you'll hear that influences throughout the whole album, but choosing the name in Japanese, Furusakuru.
And you went the wrong way round. Most people actually make it at home and then go overseas. You decided to make it overseas and then come back home. Yeah. So
Yeah, man. I'm a firm believer in doing it your way.
yeah, fair enough. What can be said more than that? I mean, tell me about MCP.
MCP is the Mark Chappell project,
Yes.
and that's another one of my outfits.
Wow. That is a lot to get through.
It is.
You've had a busy life. I tell you what, why don't we go and grab something to munch?
I can dig it.
Okay, where are we going?
Book Up Dali.
Okay.
Definitely Book Up Dali. Have you been?
I haven't.
Okay, so Book Up Dali is one of my favorite spots. When I first came back to Cape Town, I was living in District 6. And, man, the spot, when they opened, I went there in the morning for Kusistas on a Sunday, because that's what you do in Cape Town.
Yeah.
So Kusistas on the Sunday. But then I was like, man, look at this people's menu and all of the stuff. And then I started having their breakfast and went there for lunch. And then it became a spot. So I go there often with my wife and my kids. So, yeah, I think we should do Book Up Dali.
All right, let's go.
So we're talking about MCP, yeah?
Yeah.
Mark Chappell. And, yeah, so my full name, my birth name is Charles Mark Pullman. And so when I put this other outfit together, I was thinking about what kind of name. And I went, look, it needs to speak me, but not going to use Charles, because Charles just didn't speak to me like, I'm Charles. You know what I mean? So Mark is very like, boom, I'm Mark.
Yeah.
And so I went, okay, I'm going to take my second name. I'm going to take CHA from Charles. I'm going to take PIL from Pullman and make it Chappell. So then I called it Mark Chappell, and then I called the band the Mark Chappell Project.
So I would be Martin Pawn.
Pawn. Very strong name. That's a very strong name.
Thank you very much.
You know, I like it. So yeah, and then MCP, we recorded an album together. It was myself, Troy and Fernando, and my sponsor at that time, he's like my dad, D. He sorted us out, flew us up to London. We stayed in Liverpool. We blocked out the studio for a month.
Nice.
And we stayed in the UK for a month on this at Alien Sound Studios, which is in Bickerstaff Cliffs, Liverpool. Man, it was the best time. And then the guys flew back. Troy and Fernando flew back. I stayed behind with Mark, and we finished off the album, like the production side and all of those things. So by the time I flew back to Hong Kong, so I had to fly back to Hong Kong to do a private party for D and his friends and those people. So I literally landed back in Hong Kong in the evening. I think my flight came in at 6, and I was on stage at 9 p.m. So it was mad. But yeah, that's the music from Chocolate Soul and Chocolate Soul being, my mom used to call me her chocolate baby. So
Yeah.
I was always, I'm the darkest one in my family. So I
Okay.
was like the chocolate boy, the chocolate baby, baby boy. So I was like, okay, always keep like little bits of myself and
Yeah.
put that into my music. So from Chocolate Soul to MCP, Mark Chappell Project, to Charles Baby Boy Pullman, and then from that to King Qasim.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about the music now.
Okay.
Like In the Fields, that
Yeah.
was a lot of people's introduction to you.
Yes.
Those who don't know the 20-year backstory.
Yes.
And Charles and Baby Boy and all the other stuff. So In the Fields, how did that song come about?
The feelings behind In the Fields, obviously, with it being, when we wrote it, I was speaking about Rosh and how And I was speaking about Rosh and then thinking about other people, how other people would feel, like how your person makes you feel. What do you feel like? And so something that we speak about
feels is where you left me.
Is where you hit me.
Is right? Where you hit me.
Because a lot of people say, "Man, that hit me in the feels. Hit me straight in the feels."
Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
And that's what I was playing with.
Yeah.
And that's what I was playing with. So, man, that hit me in the feels. And so those little things that get you in the feels is how In the Fields came about. And Ibrahim was like feeling this vibe. He started this little groove, and then we started playing this lick. And instantly I heard, "In the fields is where you hit me," because that is the vibe. And I was like, "Whoo, I like this. You know, where we gonna go with this?" And that's how In the Fields was born, man. It's a feel good
pop song.
Exactly.
It is exactly that. It fills in. I mean, it is that. Like, it is a pop song. It's exactly what it is. And then you went from pop to more funky.
Yeah, because that's me.
Yes.
And the cool thing with that, with doing the funk stuff, is that's where I live.
Yes.
You know, I'm old school in that way. I mean,
what you doing to me?
You know, I'm a James Brown guy. I'm a Rick James, if you want to. Henry Brown, H.B. Wild.
I don't know if sorry to interrupt you, but I don't know if people were able to hear that inside the microphone.
Yes.
But the noon gun, there was a what sounded like an explosion. It's the noon gun that just went off. We're in Burkop. We're at a place called Burkop Deli. We've had an incredible breakfast. They're hosting us today. So if you're wondering why there's so much background noise, that's exactly why it is. And it's just gone exactly 12 o'clock, which is why the noon gun goes off here in Cape Town. So if you're unfamiliar with it, I thought I'd just share that with people.
That we're safe. We are safe.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. We're okay. We have this every day. Okay, so the funky side of you, what you're doing to me.
Yes.
James Brown, a bit of Bruno Mars in there?
Maybe. I mean, I think Bruno. I mean, I can't tell you exactly how old Bruno is, but a lot of people initially used to tell me, especially with my hair being longer and you know, me growing out my curls and stuff. "Man, you look like Bruno Mars." I'm like, actually, no. Bruno Mars looks like me.
Yeah.
And even that vibe, like, I think we both come from a similar school. So
when you said James Brown, it's kind of exactly the vibe that song does give off.
You know what I mean? And that's what I love doing. And Ibrahim, during that time, just went, "Dude, you need to show people who King Qasim is. Show them who you are. Because no one else is doing this. No one else is making this kind of music in South Africa. No one else is doing this type of vibe out here. Show them what you do." So that, you know, that's what I was able to then bring it across. And he was like, "Can you deliver this again when we get into recording final vocal?" And I was like, yeah. That's, you know, it's what I do.
It's natural.
And when we got into studio finally to do the final vocal mix, he was like, "Snap, like you did it again." I was like, yeah. So yeah, that what you're doing to me is really, really how I, you know, where I live. It's my personality on stage, especially when I'm playing with a live band. I prefer to be with a live band, big band, so horns and big drums and, you know, nice big organ sounds, and that's my vibe.
Okay. Now, how do we get from there and the funky sound to the more mellow sound of Dancing on Mars? And this is actually something that you're very proud of. The impression that I get, at least, is that you're very proud of Dancing on Mars, from what my conversations with you have been about the song.
Yes. Look, Dancing on Mars, if you listen to it, the funky lick is still there. You know what I mean? You still got an undertone of like, ooh, yeah. It hits in the pocket. It's nice. It's, you know, it's not like boom, boom, boom. And so after pushing something like, "What you doing to me?" It's like, okay, dial it back a little bit, and show them that you can also be sexy, and be chilled, and not push it too hard. Like, you know, you don't have to be in their faces, but show them that there's still a sexy side to funk, you know, because funk is sexy, but and if it's not it's it's there, you know. It's in the sound.
The rhythm is still there.
Exactly. You get that funky lick. You get nice pads underneath, and I'm talking about, you know, I mean, if I'm not on a live, you know, national radio show where I can't speak frankly, or I'm a bit more like gotta dial down what I'm saying. Dancing on Mars is sex, man. You know what I mean? It's a sexy song. It's about and a beautiful encounter with your person. You know what I mean? So it takes you, or elevates you from
the intensity of the moment.
You know what I'm saying?
Makes you feel like you're dancing
on
on
Mars. So and so that's, and on the night of the launch of the album, we did a live so that people could listen to it. You know, because I got a lot of people outside of South Africa who listen to my music. So the live was really for them to tune in and be part of the launch of the album. And so they listened to it, and they listened intently. Like, so even in the comments of like, dude, you took us to your bedroom. Yeah. And so, yeah, that was the thing for me. Like, Dancing on Mars is a very close to my heart.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, I'll let you in though. My next single,
Yes.
the one that comes up after Dancing on Mars, which for me is the single. Now, it leans more towards who King Qasim really is, but it speaks of the journey. It speaks of the journey. It speaks of who I am now. It speaks of my wife. It speaks of my kids. It speaks of my life, and it speaks of how small the world really is. And the track is titled "Small World."
Right.
So, and that song really was written by Brendan Adams.
And you squeezed all of that into like 3.5 minutes.
You know what I mean? So, and that one was done by
Yes.
Brendan Adams from Superdan, and he called me, and I said to B, I was like, yo, dude, like, you know, I want you to be, because we always been writing together, right? B wrote quite a few songs of this album with me, and all my albums, all my music, B's always been there. It's like I left South Africa to move to Asia. B left South Africa. I mean, Brendan's not lived here for about the same amount of time. He's living in Austria, and his first move was Switzerland, and he signed to a label over there, and he's doing big things. I mean, Rolling Stone covered a story for him. So it's like Brendan Adams is a huge deal outside of here, and people don't know him. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, yo, you don't understand the type of writer Brendan Adams is. Like, if you know Superdan, that was the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so B calls me, and this is like 2 weeks before, or 3 weeks before we go release. And he says to me, I have your single. And I said, what? He said to me, no, drop everything you're doing, this is your single. And he sent me a voice note, playing the guitar and singing the song, and he said, this is, and I heard it, and I went, fuck off. He spoke my heart. He spoke my truth in that song, and that's the thing with friends and brothers like B. You know, like you get people like him that just get you.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a long standing relationship as brothers. You know, so he sent me the song, and he said, "This is how I want you to do it." So I said, "Okay, I'm not doing it. Ibrahim's doing it. So you got to message Ibrahim and speak to him."
Yeah.
And so he spoke to Ibrahim. And I was waiting. So a couple of nights before I went into the studio, I said to Ibrahim, okay, what do you think? He said, I've got it. Come through. And I went through and I listened. And I was like, shit, this is it, you know? So, yeah, that for me, I mean, I love my whole album.
Yeah.
I love my whole album. I love everything about it. I love the truth that every single song
it's so
on that
cool
album
to
speaks.
hear that, because some people, like, they will pick on things and they'll have regrets about things that they've recorded.
Yes.
And it's so cool to actually hear, man, I love it.
Nah, I'm super stoked with where we ended up. Furu Sakuru for me was everything that I wanted an album to be, especially for my debut album as King Qasim, you know? Speaking my truth, really.
Yes.
But yeah, when that one drops, we getting prepped now to start shooting the video for it and everything. So I think it's going to be pretty dope.
Is the video out for Dancing on Mars as well?
No, because I wanted to shoot on Mars and no one wanted to fund it.
Well, you needed to get there first.
Well, that's okay. Did you know that NASA's just sending a rocket off to Mars now?
So you were hoping to hitch a ride.
Yeah, because
you need to take a film crew
I
with you.
tweeted at them. I don't need to. They've got GoPros, everything. I tweeted at them. I was like, guys, please, NASA. They were going to Mars via the moon.
Yes.
So they were going to the moon, stop over, and then fly onto Mars.
Out there
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is it. This is the vibe. And I just couldn't get it together. It was too little time, and I wanted it to be done right. You know, music videos for me, it's the story, man.
Absolutely.
You know, so I thought, okay, sure, I'm gonna be real on the music video for Small World.
Yeah. When is Small World going to be released?
We're sitting on it.
Whenever I say that, I look at people's faces and I'm like, I don't know.
We're sitting on it. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for a possible end of October, November release.
Okay. Cool.
That's what I'm hoping for. Because I mean,
Just
right
let
now,
Dancing
I'm like,
on Mars chart.
and
a
you know
little.
what I mean.
Yeah.
I really. And that's the thing. That's the thing with Ibrahim. He taught me really about all of these things, with allowing the music to breathe, allowing it to do what the music needs to do.
And you know, I find a lot with artists and international artists as well. Sometimes they'll release so many songs in a row. As a radio station, you don't really want to be playlisting too many of one artist at once.
Exactly.
So what you end up doing is you will hold off on the one and maybe swap it out later on. But you know, I guess maybe that's why Beyonce does what she does. She lets everybody get sick to death.
Yes.
Of Break My Soul before she releases something new.
Yeah,
know?
Exactly.
Now, I'm not saying let people get sick to death of your song, but I'm saying like it's nice to have that advice to let a song breathe. I agree with that 100%.
So that's the thing, and that's why I can't be 100% certain on when we're going to drop Small World, because I really want Dancing on Mars to make it to number 1.
Okay.
So that's what I'm pushing for right now, and
I'd love to see that.
Hope the people feel the same way, and they just embrace the music and embrace me as an artist, and we grow together. And I've got big plans for next year, big plans for 2023, and I really want the people and you just to be a part of it.
Okay, so can we find out a little bit more about King Qasim in terms of personal life? What TV shows do you like to watch? Are you a Netflix man?
I am a Netflix man. I'm a big movie junkie.
Okay.
And when I have the time,
So favorite movie of all time?
That's gonna be American Gangster.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't see that one coming.
Dude, I've got a very close, understanding and connection with the character. So, and I know the hustle. I understand the hustle. You have to understand. I am from 12th Avenue Retreat. I'm from Capta. I did not grow up easy. I did not get given anything. I've got 5 siblings. We lived in 1 bedroom.
You've been snowed on.
I've been snowed on. I've done the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so I really relate to the character.
Yes.
I really relate to the character. So that for me is the thing. It's why it's one of my favorites. A second one of my favorites would be The Last Samurai. And that purely because of my connection to Asia and Japan and all of those things. I've got one piece dedicated just to the Asian side and the Japanese side of my story, and and the other side is my life in South Africa. So
that's amazing.
It's that type of vibe, for me that tells the story of who King Qasim is.
And TV shows at the moment?
Ooh, TV shows.
Are you into?
I tell you what I was.
Series and stuff.
I tell you what I was interested in. That not a lot of people.
Because I heard you mention Suits earlier.
Yes.
I mean,
I was heavily.
I love Suits and Harvey Specter and all of that.
No, heavily.
I was
into
big
Suits.
Big fan.
Heavily into Suits.
Especially one of my favorite parts, and a lot of people are like, "That's your favorite part." But when they meet. And they meet in that room in the beginning.
Yes.
When he says, "Look, I'm just trying to get away from the cops."
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like it's such a great scene.
Yes.
But yeah, I became really addicted to Suits after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Suits definitely one of my all-time favorites. But I tell you something, I just finished watching, which is one of my favorites, was Ertugrul.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
No.
It's a Turkish drama,
Oh,
but
right.
it's based off the Ottoman Empire, and truth and fiction. Dude, what a series! What a series! If you have the chance, it's long. It's very long. We're talking like 80 to 100 episodes per season. It's stupid.
Jeez. That's like a soapy.
Exactly. It's like a soapy, but the episodes are long, but they keep you like wanting more. And they've just moved on now to the next one, which is his son. And I watched a little bit of it, but they didn't have the main character. You know when you kill off the main character?
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah, now I'm with you.
So that was it. Even though the story behind it and the story behind like the whole Ottoman Empire and Islam and all of those things in Europe, you have to watch it.
Okay.
I promise you, if it doesn't grab you within the first, give it like 3 or 4 episodes. If it doesn't grab you in that 4 episodes, it's not for you.
Yeah.
But I can almost promise you,
It will.
watch 4 episodes. You'll come see me with bags under your eyes. You can't stop watching it. So yeah, something like that I was watching.
And then sport.
Man, I'm look at me. I'm not a big football fanatic or sporty person, but I'm a United supporter.
That's a good good boy. Good
I'm
boy.
a United supporter, so stuff like that. But other than that, I love ice hockey.
Really? Okay.
Yes, I love ice hockey. Did you know South Africa had a very good ice hockey team?
I do, and actually, my girlfriend's daughter knows somebody who plays on the national team.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like a good couple of years ago, like in the 90s, I met this guy who used to play for South Africa. His name is Mark. He was an ice hockey player, but also a magician.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I met him at a gig at the Playdon'S Hotel. I'm talking 90s, New Year's Eve gig. And I never saw him again. Like, we stayed in touch for a little bit, but, I left. And, I mean, Mark is way older than me, and he was playing for our national team. But that ice hockey is a sport for me. Rugby is a sport for me-ish, but ice hockey definitely, and football.
Okay. Can we chat about your ink?
You want to chat about my ink? We definitely can.
Because you said you got like your story, your like life story on one arm.
Yes.
People say that when you get like tattoos,
they forever.
Yeah, but aside from that, that it can be addictive.
It is very addictive. The pain is addictive.
Can you explain that to me? Because
do you have any?
No.
Okay. So my first tattoo was...
That wasn't an invitation.
I should take you to a spot. I actually just met a new tattoo artist in Cape Town that is phenomenal at the Japanese stuff. He's the samurai. I'll give you his full detailed. He's out in the northern suburbs, but his work is tight, dude. And I'm always looking at an artist that can do, especially for me with the Asian side of things.
Yeah.
Because I got some pieces that I still need to finish that I never finished while I was back in Macau. But man, I started off in Indonesia, in Surabaya, with a very small tattoo. It's a South African flag, but in the 4 elements. So it's earth, wind, fire, water.
Okay.
And I did the design myself. It was just a little small one here. And then after that, dude, I was just like, okay, this is too small. Like, we need more. Yeah. And I never realized the addiction in that sense. And then I got the Japanese piece around it. And I was like, whoa, this looks good. This makes me feel good. And it feels, man, it's a beautiful feeling when you're getting it done. It's the perfect combination of pleasure and pain.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, you know when you knock yourself and you have a blue mark? Or when you go to gym and you so worked out that you in pain?
Yes.
And you push on it?
Yes.
It's a nice, painful, but this feels lekker. So if you can imagine...
Or when you have an itch and you put it under really, really hot water.
You know what I mean?
That
yes, that satisfaction. How this burns, but it feels so good.
Yes.
That's what tattoos feel like. A little bit more irritating. If you think about sunburn and picking at sunburn, that is the cusp of a tattoo. But it depends on the artist, because it also depends how deep they go.
Yeah.
Because some artists go really deep and some sit just above certain spots, but then there's certain places that hurt. I'm not going to lie. Tattoos are painful. Like down here on your elbows, that hurts.
Yeah, it's a bone.
Really, exactly. Straight bone, that hurts. On my chest, around here, over here, that hurts. Anything on the bone, it hurts. But so good. But so good.
Okay. Wow. That it was so awesome.
It was amazing.
So cool.
It was amazing.
Gotta do this more often.
Definitely.
And we're gonna hopefully go to different places, chat to different people.
Yep.
And I would like to take you along with me. So
I'd love to come.
Brilliant. King Qasim, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Paul. It's been amazing.
And a big shout out to a couple of people. First of all, the guys here at Book Up Delhi. They were brilliant.
Thanks to Munir, owner at Book Up Delhi. Amazing food, amazing people, amazing vibe. Like, thank you for hosting us and making us feel so welcome here.
Indeed.
In Book Up. It's you're really amazing. Thank you.
And then also Tom's
Music Heritage Square
in Buitengracht.
Buitengracht Street.
Thank you very much. And everybody else for being part of the podcast today.
Lekker. Thanks, Paul.